Are you going to stay on as the TA or not?
No, it says I'm just checking in.
Okay.
Let's see. Trying to see if this actually worked. Okay, it does say live. All right. Alrighty, I will go ahead and make you host again. Host.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. And I'm gonna put myself on mute and double check to see if it went on the TV.
That's fine.
Okay, I see you in the lineup, so I think we should be good.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Nina.
No problem.
What's your time where you are now?
It is 3:57 p.m.
3:57, going on to 4 p.m. Okay. Yeah. We are 7 a.m. in the morning here.
So is it, I think it's like 7 or 8 a.m.?
Yeah. Yeah, it's 7 a.m. The dawn is just breaking now.
Oh, wow. Got to check in on one of your wife's classes, so I thought that was great.
Okay. Yeah, that's the next class. Might as well have a look what I look like if I'm awake or not. It's 14 degrees here at the moment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold and it's dark.
Oh my gosh. Wow, I didn't know it gets that cold.
Yeah. Our winter time, it's always cold.
Yeah.
Hey, good day, good day. To Nelda, good day, Nelda.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. And to Richard, good day to you. Okay, and in they come. Veronica, hello.
Hello.
Hello,
How are
welcome.
you? Good.
I'm well, thank you. Still
Oh,
waking up, but I'm well.
yeah. I don't know what happened. What happened? I did something wrong and everything's disappeared. Let's see here.
No, I can see you and I can hear you, so that's fine. And hello, Janet. Yes,
Hello.
hello. I can see and hear you. Welcome. Okay. And Debbie, welcome. Welcome.
Hello there.
Hi. Nice to see you again. So welcome. Richard, can you hear me? No, I can't hear you yet. That's that. I'm sure that will correct itself during the. Well, it's really great to have you all in here. I know it's evening for you, but it's early morning for me, 7 a.m. and it's still dark and it's still very cold. So I'm looking forward to warming up during this class and waking up for that matter too. So microgreens, Nelda, what brings you to microgreens?
I think I attended one of the classes, and I was at this one shop Lowe's, and I saw a little box. And it was just a little, like, to get started, just a little box, you know. And
Yeah.
I brought it, and it bloomed, you know. I mean, it came up, and I enjoyed it. So now I've bought the little package of seeds, and now I want to make sure I know how to do all of that.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad you took the first step and you started growing microgreens.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. You get lovely kits online to start off with. So that's great. Yeah. So Janet, what brings you to microgreens?
Well, I wanted to find out the health benefits for eating microgreens.
Okay, good. There are enormous health benefits. So yeah, you've come to the right place, right class. So Veronica, what brings you here?
I wanted to try again. I tried once. I saw a YouTube video and they did it without soil, like use paper towels or something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in that as well as nutritional benefits.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. Debbie, what brings you? Hello.
Just the same thing, just to increase my knowledge and health benefits.
Okay, and then possibly start growing them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Laverne, hello. Haven't seen you for a while. Welcome.
Hi. Yes, I had saw a little while ago, some time ago, about greens being grown in a container, and they said you could do it in your home. And so I was curious about that, and also I want to know the health benefits.
Right. Okay. And welcome, Lo. Are you going to grow microgreens in your little homes?
Yeah, for all the reasons everyone mentioned.
Okay, that's great. Well, everybody mentioned health amongst other things, so that's interesting. So I will certainly emphasize that area a little bit more. And Richard, have you found your mic yet or not yet?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you guys. Yeah, I'm interested in growing greens inside. I think it'd be really cool.
Okay, that's great. All right. Well, it's great to have you all here this afternoon for you, but this morning for me. I've got to remember that. All right. So what we're going to do, I'm going to share some slides and slowly move through the areas that really interest you. So please leave your microphones on and just chat. You know, if you suddenly a question arises, let's take it at that spur of that moment and let's see if we can answer it. So as is customary, I think there's only one of you that hasn't been in a previous class of mine. So my name is Michael Plumstead, and I am living in Perth, Western Australia. And as I mentioned earlier, the time has just gone 7 a.m. in the morning, and the dawn's just breaking, and it's 14 degrees Celsius, which is chilly. and so, yeah, I have a background of business and writing all sorts of different things, and training and mentoring business. I have accreditation in that, and that's a lot of fun too. But I enjoy gardening, and I grow my own microgreens, and I have successes, I have failures, but I love the microgreens, and I thoroughly enjoy being in class with you. It's really it's part of the fun of my life, is being in class. So I'm very fortunate to be able to do this at my age. So what are microgreens? Just to look at that image that you see there, I mean, isn't it beautiful? I mean, you can see the different textures, and you can imagine the different tastes, and you can imagine the different health benefits. And some are a little crunchy, and some are quite strong, but we'll go through these in the class. So let's first be clear what microgreens are, as a good starting point. Okay, so they are somewhere between young vegetable greens and the sprouts that you get. Okay, and they usually don't get caught up in the height, because different beans you harvest at different heights. And so, when I say between 1 and 3 inches or 5 centimeters tall, that's very much an average idea. You can do most, but things like beans themselves grow to be much taller. So microgreens are really baby vegetable plants. That's what they are. Okay, if you allow them to grow, they will grow into the full plant, the full vegetable. Okay, and there are people now, particularly in North America, that are marketing quite heavily about microgreen seeds, that are only microgreen seeds. And I'm not sure whether that's a reality or whether they've been genetically modified, but the idea of a microgreen is just to harvest it long before it grows into a full-grown vegetable. And we'll look at a comparison just now between that and a sprout as well. So it is, and this is what you want to hear for sure from what you've been saying, okay, it is a concentrated nutrient plant. It really is. And we'll talk some more about the nutrient and the taste and the textures of them as well. So in order to sort of come into the subject, they are very broadly, as they are vegetable categories, there are also microgreen categories, which fall into the same categories largely as do the vegetables. And so each category, has been scientifically separated for various reasons. And you know that from your growing vegetables and eating vegetables. So there are basically 6 categories you see on the screen there. And you start off with the first, I call it the cabbage family, because it's largely written around that name, although there is a technical scientific name for it. The first section is the cabbage family, and there's a reason. You'll see as we go through the class, there's going to be different categories of taste and nutrients and things like that. The second is, I call it the aster family, the lettuce and the endive and so on. And then come down to the carrot family, and then to the Allium family, and then to the second last one, the green leafy family, and then the gourd family at the bottom with the melons and the cucumbers and so on. And the image you see in there on this slide are radishes. Okay. Now I put, I'll be talking more about radishes later, but they have quite a nutrient punch. And I will remember to stop there and talk a little bit more about the nutrients. But that is a radish that you see in there now in that plant. They're very easy to grow and very nutritious. So if you only want one seed to start with, that's probably where you're going to start. Okay. The image you see now are sprouts on the left and microgreens on the right. Okay. Sprouts, you eat everything. You eat the seed and anything that is sprouted out of the seed. And I'm sure you've all grown sprouts historically. And on the right are the microgreens. And you can see clearly the enormous difference between a sprout and a microgreen. A microgreen has sprouted and then started growing leaves, okay, on its way to becoming a full mature vegetable plant, all right, or a full herb. And so the green brings a whole new lot of nutrients, more than the sprout does, because now it's also interacting with the light and also a little bit of sun if you give it a little bit of sun. And we'll talk about that as we go into nutrients. So it's by just looking at it, you can see it's more nutritious because of the green stems and the green leaves that have been around there much longer on the planet Earth than the sprouts have been. Okay, so the sprouts get eaten before they get a chance to get to those sort of greens. And microgreens are grown in some sort of soil. All right, they can be grown in a whole lot of different. We will talk about growing in this class, but one of you mentioned that you've got. So yeah, I personally grow them in soil, and that's always been historically for years now. I've tried all the other methods, and they all work. They all work, but it's just my preference for growing them in soil. And I think probably they have a little bit more nutrition because of the organic soil that you use, and the roots, take those nutrients up. And as you know, sprouts are not grown in soil. They're grown in water, ventilation, and air. Light is an issue with microgreens. It's not such an issue with sprouts, but with microgreens, light is an issue. The green leaves do need light. So a windowsill where there's lots of light inside your house or on your balcony, absolutely great. And they can even get some sun as they get a little older. And that will even enhance the nutrient value, because the interaction with the green leaves and the light. Okay. But with microgreens, ventilation is an issue. So you really need to make sure it's got its space. It needs to have air around it. It can't be locked up into a small corner or a cupboard or somewhere. So it needs to have fresh air, as do you and I. It needs to have fresh air as well. So although you use the same seeds as for both sprouts and microgreens, you grow many more seeds as microgreens, because some seeds you don't eat. Okay, you can sprout them, but you don't eat them for certain reasons. And so basically you can actually grow more variety of microgreens than you can with sprouting. So that's not a major issue at this point, because listening to you, other than one of you, you were all basically in a sort of newbie state. Okay, I think it was Nelda that said she had bought some or one lot from the internet, and So we'll see now what happens as we move forward. All right, so let's go to why. And I think you've all answered this question already. Okay, most of you want the health, and but let's have a look at why we grow microgreens. Okay, you don't need a garden. All right, so it doesn't matter where you are living, in what sort of tiny house of lils you might be living in. You can grow microgreens, okay, and you can have the most nutritious vegetables on planet Earth, okay, and you'll have your own organic vegetables right in your tiny house, and so you don't need to worry about eating your vegetables, because they will be there right on your windowsill whenever you want them, okay, and I regard them as a total superfood. You know, we've got this phrase that's been going around for some time now about this is a superfood and that is a superfood and that is a superfood, you know, and everybody wants their opinion to be a superfood. Well, microgreens, in my opinion, are superfoods, and I'm going to show you the reasons now. It really is a food second to none, and particularly for us as we get older, because it's so much easier to absorb. So it's really a practical way of getting your nutrients, and you might be taking supplements at the moment, and I hope they're nice and tasty and crunchy and got lots of flavor, and I hope you're actually absorbing them, because we actually don't know if we are absorbing our supplements or not. And so what microgreens do, regardless of whether your immune system is strong, and you know, for a strong immune system, you also need a strong microbiome inside your gut, inside your stomach. And you, as I've said now, you could be taking all sorts of good food, super supplements and so on, and your body may not be absorbing them. You don't know unless you go for tests. You can go for tests and so on, but assuming you're like me, just Mr. Average, you're not going to rush off for a test. And but if you're eating microgreens and your stomach wasn't absorbing, the microgreens will automatically repair your gut, automatically repair your microbiome. It will maintain a strong microbiome, which in turn will maintain a strong immune system, which as we grow older, we need, okay, for a whole lot of different reasons. And so this is a starting point as far as health are concerned. Now, the polyphenols, you know, if you had to go and mention it to some specialist and say, well, what are polyphenols? Are they any good for us? You know, their eyes will get big and say, they are a very large category of things that you really need to have. And there's a lot of subcategories under that, which I'm not going to go into today, but I'm going to mention some of the benefits as we go through. But one of the big things, the antioxidant properties that the polyphenols have. Now, we need antioxidants, okay? I also eat very dark chocolate for the antioxidant properties. And so the microgreens bring that to your stomach. And it's very, very important to remember that the microgreens have a high concentration of nutrients compared to the full-grown vegetable. It's far higher as a microgreen than the full-grown vegetable, okay? So it's, you know, sort of 1 ounce of broccoli microgreens has the nutrients of about 1.5 pounds of mature broccoli. Get some sort of idea of what it is. And they are rich in vitamins and minerals and trace elements and enzymes and chlorophyll. Let's get that pronounced right now. How do you pronounce it? Chlorophyll, which is in the green leaves, okay, which interacts with the sun. And so that is, I'll come back to that as well. But so it has lots of that. It also, microgreens, you ready for it? have
Yes.
protein. Have protein. Okay. Now, different microgreens, different quantities. Not all of them have the same quantity. Certain of the microgreens or certain categories that you saw earlier on will have more of one thing and the other. And I'll be giving some examples in a moment. And we're looking at that. So just eating high polyphenol foods like microgreens is a great place to start to build up your immune system and your health, so that your immune system can really sort out anything that happens to be, we won't mention any names, running around in 2021, okay? And it's a really good place to be. And you'll find that the phytonutrients that fall under this category, they help lower cholesterol if you have a cholesterol problem, and they help with, and this has helped me tremendously, the triglyceride symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis and Alzheimer's disease. Okay, not that we're going to get it that come into class, but you never know. Let's just get there and not even handle Alzheimer's. Okay, it's not something we want to have around us now. If you are scared of cancer, the microgreens have this powerful property of the phytonutrients that will help tremendously. Even if you've had cancer and you now have finished your chemotherapy or radiation and so on, microgreens are great for the recovery period and getting your system back over the months into a healthy state. So
Great news.
Say again?
That's great news. Yes, you hit the nail on the head right there for me.
Oh, fantastic, Veronica.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, you don't have to share, but I'm really pleased about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the whole thing revolves around your gut microbiome. Okay. And that's some of the latest science, that things are discovering, perhaps I think it was probably even 10 years ago, they didn't really know much about what the function was and of the gut microbiome, but now it's all moved into place. So as I mentioned a moment ago, the microgreens are I've taken the very low research that I found. It's 4 times more dense than nutrients than the mature plant. But I have now also discovered that certain microgreens can be 50 times more nutrient dense than the big plant. Okay, so you're catching in all those nutrients that are there in the microgreen, in those leaves, in those stems, and then as they grow bigger and bigger and bigger, they obviously dissipate over a much larger area, and they still have the nutrients in them, but not in such a concentrated way. So it's really a great way to capture the nutrients is through the microgreens. And it's easy to grow any time of the year. And if like, where I'm looking out of the window now as I'm talking to you, it's still dawning, it's still dark, and we're going to have cloud the entire day, so it's going to be a dark day. You can use a growing light to help. Okay, it will certainly help. It will certainly enhance. Not essential if you don't have. You're going into summer, most of you now, and so you're not going to have a problem with light. But if you in your winter now, when everything's closed in and you may be snowing outside, you would then need to have a growing light. And in the let's say the old days, okay, we used to have tubes, and you still buy tubes, okay, you still get them, but you also now have LED lights, and so the LED lights work just as well. There's a certain ray that needs to come out of the lights. That's why you don't just use the common old garden bulb. You need to use a growing light to get the correct ray coming out of it. Okay, let's just stop there for a minute and see if there are any questions with what we've covered so far. And it'll also give me a chance to have a sip of water. Okay.
Are growing lights really large? I'm not familiar with growing lights.
No, they're not large. Tubes can just be like an inch wide, and then they could be up to 3 foot long. Okay, they could be 1 foot long or 6 inches, but they just narrow, like the exact same type of shape as you would put in your roof to light your room of the tubes. Okay, the LEDs also come in different shapes, often round, and then if you just grow in one tray or something, you just have one micro light, LED light above it, and you can buy them online, and they'll give a good explanation of how many you need for what sort of microgreens or space of microgreens. It's a light for all microgreens, so it's not common, but how many of them you need, so you might find there. And if you don't have space and you're growing down sort of in a cellar or somewhere, you can grow them in a cellar, but then you need the light, okay, and you need to regulate the warmth and to make sure that they're like little babies. They need to be kept warm, okay, and the more you treat them like little babies, the more they will nourish you. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Laverne.
Well, I was glad to hear about the growing light, because where I stay around a lot of trees, so I don't get light like that. Okay. And then my question is, if I would get a growing light for it, and you said they have to stay warm, well, what about when you have your air conditioner on in the house?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Personally, I've never grown them where there's air conditioning, but would you keep the temperature sort of at, are you talking about in summer you want air conditioner on in order to get cool, or in winter to get warm?
To get cool in the summertime.
Yeah. That's not so bad, because you are warm anyway, okay, and you put them next to a window. The warmth from the window is going to penetrate for a few inches, okay, into the room, and so that would be warm enough. And also you wouldn't put it on so cold that you're now freezing. All right, so you would probably, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but here in Australia, it would like 23, 24 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So what keeps you warm or cool, but not too cold, would probably be all right. But I recommend that you always experiment, and even keep a little journal about let's say your air conditioning was on whatever it was, 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and see how the microgreens grows, because we're going to be growing microgreens for the rest of our lives, I promise you. And I'll be disappointed in you if you don't. Okay, because it's so nutritious. But experiment, Laverne, and you could probably even get information online about that from people who grow the microgreens in your county, and see what they say about a temperature. But I think you would be all right. Just as long as you are cool, they'll probably be cool. Okay, maybe put them somewhere where there's more light than otherwise.
See, that's my problem. I don't have a lot. I don't have light in here. I have to. As a matter of fact, I have to turn lights on because my whole place is just covered with trees, and so it's pretty much dark in my house.
Okay, but I'm just listening to what you're saying, and if you put the microgreens into, let's just call it a room that is not, and you put a growing light in that room, and you closed the door even, okay, where perhaps the air conditioner is not getting. So that room would now be a little bit almost like a hothouse, okay? And so you could create that environment in a room. And I would suggest you experiment with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So that they don't have to suffer your air conditioning, okay?
Right.
All right.
You're
Any
going
other
to be cutting down, cutting some of your microgreens. Do you cut them like all the way down to the dirt root, or do you just cut the top, and do they continue to grow when you cut them? That's what I wasn't sure of.
Yeah, you preempting what's coming up in my slides.
Okay.
I'm going to show you an image. I'm going to show you an image on where to cut them.
Okay.
So can you be patient for a minute?
I certainly can. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's carry on. Okay, we're now going to look at seeds. And I strongly recommend that if you're going to buy them online, and if you're going to buy them from somebody in your county as opposed to across the continent, then you can also take their suggestions, and also whether you're growing with a light or whether you're growing with natural light and so forth. But these 8 seeds that you see here, I have found them to be really part and parcel of my life. And now we're going to be talking also about health. All right. So, and what you see on your screen, they have different textures. Even by looking at the images, you can see that. They have different tastes. Some of them are bland, some of them are very sharp, some of them are sweet. And so you get to know your seeds, and you keep a little journal to say, these pea shoots were so sweet, okay? And because I find I experiment so much that by the time the next year comes, I've forgotten what those seeds were like, because there could be 100 seeds that you could experiment with. So it's worthwhile noting and building up a journal on, if you have historically suffered from cancer or currently suffering, for example, find the microgreens that are really strong and helpful and diarize them, put them in your journal. And all right, so on the extreme left-hand top picture is coriander. Okay, it's a great source of fiber, but a lot of them are. So it doesn't stand alone as that, but it's one of the more dense fiber ones, and so it certainly would help your stomach keep regular and so on. But it has nutrient-wise, it has manganese, iron, magnesium, and the leaves themselves of the coriander are rich in vitamin C and vitamin K. And hello, who's there? Protein. Okay. And so, for those that are vegetarian or vegan, protein you need the protein to balance all the nutrients so they work together. And so this is one plant that you'll find them in many plants, but this is the one plant that's quite rich in that area. It's also got calcium and phosphorus and potassium and things like that. Niacin is another one that you will find in the coriander. It also has a substance which it falls under the polyphenols that I was speaking about, and that's lutein. Lutein is a powerful flavonoid, which is part of that polyphenol family, as I mentioned to you. But it helps particularly because of that substance that it has. It helps with cancer, okay, and cancer prevention. So, if you're nowhere near there, but you have a little fear or whatever, then the coriander is a good one there because of that one chemical that is in it, okay? And even if you're recovering from chemo, it would be great. So if we move, next to the coriander is the broccoli, and broccoli has large quantities of magnesium and manganese, okay, including copper and zinc. And now, if you're doing any research for yourself for health, or you're taking any supplements that need those things, okay, then broccoli microgreen is where you need to be going. But the additional nutrient value of broccoli, it has essential minerals that most of us are deficient in, okay, and they're called essential for a reason, okay. And so it's really important to get broccoli. There are others with some essential nutrients, but broccoli is perhaps the powerhouse of the essential nutrients. And yeah, you're going to ask me about taste. They just taste a little bit younger than the broccoli plant. You know, if you take the broccoli and eat it, I don't find it a problem, but some people do. But the microgreen is a much lighter taste, but far more concentrated in the nutrients than the full-grown plant. Okay. Right, then as we move across, the one next to that is basil. Now, this is a good source of protein, probably one of the better sources, basil. And so if you're a vegetarian, basil really needs, in my opinion, okay, remember, I'm not a doctor or anything, I'm just a researcher, and I take the best from the best, I hope, and communicate it. But basil, even, you know, I allow certain basil microgreens to grow into full-grown plants, and I plant them from the microgreen stage into pots, and I just put it on my veranda, and it grows, and it grows for years, not just a season. Okay, so then you can also just cut off the leaves as well, because you might want to cook with them, but you can cook with microgreens too. But it's good just to have a basil plant sitting around, you know, cheering you up, and it's also strong in niacin, and it's also a good source of fiber as well. And but also basil has vitamin A, C, K, B6, okay, folate, calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, zinc, copper, manganese. That's all in basil. Okay, so that becomes quite a powerhouse for nutrients. All right, and remember that when you start growing your nutrients, which I'm sure you will, you can have a mixture, not necessarily in the same tray, because they sprout at different times. I've tried that too, and it's okay, because you're harvesting the one and the others are just starting to sprout, and that's fine. But it's probably better to keep it into smaller, then they all grow together, they all get harvested together, and but you can have mixed. I've even tried taking, you know, I have the breakfast cereal that just all it is seeds, and I just sprayed those multiple variety of seeds into one tray, and they all grew, but very, you know, this one, that one, then that one, then that one, but it showed that at least the seeds that I was eating were healthy and nutritious and alive. So I experiment all day long with everything, and so you should too as well. Okay, really get going with experimenting. So basil is really a one of the top nutrient ones. Chai on the right-hand side top there, we've always known. Sorry, did somebody want to ask a question? I heard a sound. No, that's fine. Chai is, as we've always been told, chai is a superfood, and it is a superfood. Okay, and the microgreen is also a food. It certainly also has a lot of fiber, and it also has a lot of protein, and they perhaps, you know, yeah, they were definitely, as as a seed, they're one of the most nutritious seeds by themselves before you start even sprouting them or growing them as microgreens. So they really work with your gut microbiome, the chia seeds, and getting it back to, and if you like I did, used to suffer from diabetes too, chia seeds are perhaps top of the list. So that becomes, for people with diabetes too, particularly, a good microgreen to keep growing. Right. So then we move. I'm not going to go through all of them. Let's take the radish at the bottom. I showed you the radish leaf, the radish microgreen, and I would personally, because it not only does it contain A, B, C, E, K vitamins, they also deliver a lot of calcium and iron and magnesium and phosphorus and potassium and zinc. And that's not all. Are you listening carefully? These radishes also contain a form of amino acids, all of the amino acids, which is, you could call them proteins if you like, but they are very strong in all the amino acids. And now that's wow. Okay, that's wow. You go and Google essential amino acids. Okay, got to have them because they're essential, and the radishes have them. Okay, so definitely they also have chlorophyll in them, and chlorophyll is really what reacts with the sun, but it also reacts with you. If you've got a bad breath or something, you can then use the chlorophyll and eat it, and it'll be like an antibacterial type. That's not the right word really, but it will help with as a deodorant maybe. Okay, and both externally and internally. So it's really quite a little, and it's a tiny little, even when it grows to its full maturity, it's still a tiny little chappy. And so radishes are definitely, so let me stop there and let me see if there are any, because I want to now move away from seeds, because there's, you do have access to them through your supplier, whoever is going to supply you with the seeds. They'll have lots of information about those particular seeds. And you have personal needs. Okay, so you might be focusing on cancer or diabetes, for example, or various growths of various descriptions. So you would then focus more on certain microgreens and not others. But are there any questions up to here now? We're going to move more now to other reasons for choosing certain seeds. Yes, Laverne. Okay.
I was wondering, you were talking about the radishes, all of the benefits in them. What about if you were to buy radishes, from the supermarket? Do they have any of those nutritions in them? And if they do, how much of it do they have?
All right. Now, there are a couple of answers to that, Laverne. First of all, particularly people our age, we need to be eating organic. Okay. So you must be careful when you're buying from any supermarket. There could be a lot of insecticides, pesticides, artificial nutrients put in the soil for quick growth and things like that, which are still to a large extent in those plants. So that's one thing. It's not a major thing, but it's something to be aware of. Okay, and the microgreen radish will have probably 10 times more nutrients than the full-grown plant. Okay, so there's no particular harm in buying radishes from your store, especially from a farmer's market or somewhere where you perhaps got to know the people, or that they are reputable people and they're not going to put poison into your stomach. Then the full-grown radish will give you less nutrients per radish, okay, than the microgreen. But yes, you can. It will still have those, as will broccoli. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Pleasure. Any other questions? Yes, Hiroko. I can't hear you. You got your mic. Here we are. Okay.
Yes, I am your convert. You know, I participated in your class, exactly the same class, and I was immediately converted into your religion, so to speak. And I brought all those organic things,
Okay.
Japanese vegetables.
Keep them in front of you. Keep them in front of your face. Yes. Okay.
But anyway,
That's it. Yes. Yes.
anyway, my question is, I have planted 6 different kinds, and lucky enough, it rained a lot in New York area, my country house, so it started growing. But the growth is much slower than I had expected. Huge, lots of suns, lots of rain and everything. But I only see them in 2 inches. Some of them are American vegetables, 2 inches. At what point am I allowed to chop it and put it in my salad? Looks very delicious, but then it has been in this condition about 3+ weeks. Is that how it takes? Or
Yeah.
I wait a little longer?
Yeah. 3 weeks is like the norm before you start, average before you start harvesting. Okay. So although some of them you can harvest in half that time, most of them take 3 weeks or just over 3 weeks. And it sounds like you're planting them directly into the soil in your garden.
No, I put it in a pot with a hose underneath, and I buy these organic soils.
Right.
And I put something underneath and put it in veranda. But once you harvest, that's it. You have only one harvest. Is that
okay? Okay. You're the second one to ask that question today, and I'm going to show you. I've got to show you. I didn't answer them. You were right. I didn't answer them because I'm going to show you a picture, an image of how to harvest. But the answer to the question is yes. You can have multiple harvests if you harvest them correctly. So yes, you can have 3 or 4 harvests of the same microgreen. Okay, but I will show you a picture.
Sorry to speak over. At least I can share my experience with a classmate that
yes,
professor's formula works. Even I'm non-green thumb came to this point, you know.
Thank you.
He hasn't paid me to say so. That's the truth, you know. My veranda, and you realize I'm an honest person.
Okay.
We're all looking forward to the harvesting.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's great, Hiroko. All right. There are the seeds. It's interesting when you've got a virtual background screen. You know, you've got to hold them up in front of your face. Then you can see them. But if you hold them over there, your hands start disappearing. Okay. But thanks for sharing. That's great. And any other questions or comments?
Here I am again. So
Yeah.
I don't have the microgreens, but I started an herb garden. Right now they're doing well. I have the sage, I have the basil, I have mint, and I have thyme. And it's something else. I have chives and all that. But so while I'm waiting for my microgreens, can I just still harvest those and maybe chop them up and put them in a salad while waiting?
Definitely. No, definitely. Okay. They're all microgreens at a certain stage. Yeah, lovely to have your herbs as microgreens, okay? And test, you know, because they'll probably be more powerful than the fully grown herb. But you certainly can. You certainly can. Yeah. And it's so interesting with microgreens. You can just be around in the kitchen doing something, and you put in something in your mouth, whatever it happens to be. And, you know, like me, I do the cooking, and I think I do more eating when I'm cooking than I am when I'm sitting down at the table. And then, you know, I just throw some microgreens into whatever I happen to be eating, you know. So yeah, it's a great way to do your herbs. And so yes. All right. Any more questions?
I just got one.
Yes, Laverne.
This is so brand new to me. So your microgreens, you don't cook them, you put them in a salad or something. That's what's being said?
Okay. I'm going to show you at the end of this class, which is in a few minutes' time, different ways you can eat it. But you can cook with it. You can put it in any. You can even put it on a dessert. Okay. You can garnish with it. You can make a smoothie out of it. Okay. There are lots of options of consuming them, and you can bake them into bread. Okay. You know, if you bake bread. So there are lots of options, definitely lots of options, but I'll show you some pictures of some. All right.
Okay.
All right, let's carry on. And right, so we've done with the seeds, and you know, there are other reasons that you may well choose, and you will recognize 3 different aspects, sort of broad aspects of microgreens. And that is, you might, like myself, I enjoy the crunch, okay? And the crunch, certain microgreens have more crunch than other microgreens. And like the peas, for example, they have a lot of crunch, but so do the beans. And the beans grow much taller before you harvest them. And so you've got sunflower is another good crunch one. Okay. And they've all got their health benefits and so on. But this is just the crunch I'm talking about. So be aware that some of them have a lovely crunch if you like the crunch. And then, of course, you get chefs who love to garnish your plate for beauty and color with microgreens. And if you are that sort of host as well, and you can then really make your plate look beautiful with all the different colors, you know, the purple basil is often used all over the place, and they're all nutritious. Okay, it's another use for which, you know, you might decide that you do a lot of entertaining, and so you want to really focus more. You're still going to get the nutrients, but you want to focus more on the color. And so there are a lot that are beautiful colors, and you will see them all over the internet. You can Google any one, you know, Google purple basil, and you'll see exactly what it looks like, or red cabbage. And then there are those that have a strong taste, and I would say the majority don't have a strong taste, but some have a strong taste, you know. So just go through, you can see on the screen there some examples of the strong tastes. You know, if you like the strong taste, then there certainly are. You know, the radishes also have a strong taste, and so does rocket. Okay, now we come into the microgreens. Whoops, I've shot back. Okay. So how to harvest. 2 of you asked now how to harvest. Okay. In this image here of the microgreen, microgreens sprout, and then they're putting out their first leaves. Often those first leaves are quite close to the ground. Okay. And then they start with a couple of stems or a stem with lots of leaves coming off them. And so if you want more than one harvest, leave at least a leaf or 2 on the plant. Okay. And cut them with very sharp scissors or very sharp knife. You don't want to squash them. Okay. So you want to cut them. And so it's important then you cut them straight across and easy without actually squashing the plant. And so that's the secret. Most plants, not all, most will give you a second, third harvest. There are a couple that won't. Okay. And even on the second harvest, there'll be 1 or 2 that will die, perhaps because of how you've cut it or squashed it. Okay, but the majority will definitely give you a second harvest. Okay. Now we spoke earlier about where to grow, so I'm not going to labor on that. Okay, but start in a warm place and start in a dark place, because sprouts want darkness. And I'm going to show you another image now on the next slide. So they need to sprout, you know, they usually sprout underground. Now, that's why I use soil. I actually put soil on top of my seeds. But if you don't put soil on top of your seeds and you use one of the other growing mediums, then you need to put a board over to make it dark, and then put them in a cupboard or something until they start sprouting. But they need darkness. Okay, so you can grow microgreens in any type of container, Okay, it doesn't matter. You can have the plastic container that you get your things from the supermarket in, you know, whether you get your vegetables in a container or your meat in a container. You can just punch some holes in it, and if you're using soil, that is, and so that any excess water will drain out easily and quickly. So you can use any type of container. But I mentioned right at the beginning of the class, and I mention again here on the bottom of the slide, is that use certified organic seed, or one that says untreated seed. Okay, you must have untreated seed. You don't want the concentration of the farmer's seed. Farmers buy treated seed because then it gives them a better harvest and allows them to grow quicker in some situations and keep the pests at bay. You're not going to have a lot of pests, okay? And so that's not an issue for you, but you also don't want anything that's treated, because it's now in concentration. That poisonous that they put in there in order to treat the seeds is concentrated, and you're going to get an upset stomach, and possibly get an upset stomach. So always untreated seed, they are available, and a lot of farmers now are starting to use untreated seed as well. So you can easily find it on the internet. All right, now for actually growing them. Any container, as I mentioned to you, I tend to soak my seeds overnight, and or for a day, and the same time the next day I start working with them. And I don't do all my seeds, like chia seeds. I don't soak chia seeds because they're already sort of quite delicate, and when you soak them, they become a little jelly, like a sort of a jelly consistent. You could. Just not pleasant to work with. So, but generally, especially the bigger seeds, like flaxseed. I've just finished a lot of flaxseed in the last couple of months, and they grow quickly. And if you soak them overnight, give them a good soak. Give pumpkin seeds a good soak. Give sunflower seeds a good soak. The bigger seeds, let them. But you can't harm any seed by soaking it. Okay, it's like when you're sprouting, you're putting water on them anyway to sprout them. So it's good just to get the process up and use it, but you do not have to. You could put them onto your medium and follow the instructions. If you're buying a kit, follow the instructions that are given to you by the person you bought or the farm you bought it from. All right, so you put soil. I put soil. I use soil. I use organic soil, and I put holes in the bottom. And well, the tray comes with holes in the bottom. And then I put organic seed in the top. So I sprinkle them over the top in step 2, and I then put soil on top of that, okay, in order to put them into darkness. Just the surface soil, that you can't see any seed, and you lightly pat them down, okay, but it's very fine soil that you use. If you find you've got organic soil that's got a lot of quite big pieces in, just sieve the big pieces out and put them in your pots or your garden or somewhere, and just work with the fine soil. And then once you've now sprinkled them all over, you can have them close as you like together. You can never be too close, but you don't want to put them on top of each other. And that's why you in step one, you pat them down and take away the little valleys and hills. And so you've got a flat surface. And now you sprinkle them. And if you sprinkle them sparsely, well, it'll be a sparsely crop. Nothing wrong with it, just fewer. So you can put them close together and then water them. And then you cover them with soil, or you cover them with a plank so there's darkness. And a darkness, different seeds will sprout at different rates, but most of them will not sprout for 3 days. And so then after the 3rd day, you can start peeping in to see, once they've all sprouted, you've got there like 90% of all now, you can see the sprouts sprouting. You could now perhaps take them out, but you can't really leave them in for too long anyway. So if you want them to go a little bit taller, that's fine. But then they come out into a ventilated place, and a place where there's lots of light, because they're now going to start with some leaves almost immediately after that. So if you bring them out too early, and the light is too bright or too hot, then you may have a little bit of a problem. But really, the seeds want to grow. They really want to grow. So they're pretty hardy. Okay. So you put them in a nice ventilated area on a windowsill or down in your basement with a grow light. But there must be ventilation around. Then you can water as often as the surface is dry. So could be once a day, it could be 3 times a day. Just feel the surface with your finger and look at the plants and ask them, would you like a little watering today? Okay, and they'll tell you. They'll tell you. I talk to all my plants, okay, in the garden as well. I talk to my birds in the garden, and I also have a bandicoot that comes into the garden from the wilds, and I talk to it. And so, they all understand you. Of course, they understand you. All right. So now I've shown you how to harvest, above, and you'll see here from these pictures, different people harvesting. So when you look carefully at them, you will still see some little bit of green, some leaves they've left behind, and they've harvested them sort of well above, it could be ½ an inch, it could be even an inch above the soil. And but it must be above the soil. Do not pull out your microgreens and eat them. You do not want to eat the seed. You do not want to eat the seed. You want to eat the greens. If you do pull out the seed by mistake, then just put it in your compost bin, and in a bin that will compost very quickly. Because any soil that you finish using, maybe now the microgreens have given you a couple, you can reuse that soil. Now, a certain amount of nutrients have been taken out of the soil by the microgreens roots. So you scrumple it up, you put it into I just throw it into a bucket and I leave it, sort of a broad washing bucket, I suppose you call it, that I put it into. And then you just add, before you use it again, let all the roots dry out, and then add some more organic soil. Or I see here that I've just started using something that I found in the shops, and that was organic enhancers. Organic enhancers. So I just mix a bit of that in, and then you can reuse the soil indefinitely into the future. Just add it to enhance it. Not necessarily every time, but perhaps every second time you use it. And it's only going to benefit you and your microbiome, because it's going to give more concentrated, certainly more concentrated nutrients coming from the soil. And that's the big difference with microgreens and sprouting. You're getting nutrients from the organic soil. You're getting nutrients. You can grow microgreens in water as well, like hydroponically. And I've never tried that, but I see people on the internet do that. So I don't have any experience to talk about that, but they seem to say that you now put the nutrients into the water and then the plant. But I hesitate with that, because nature has a marvelous formula of put all the right things together, And if man comes along, I'm a little bit worried if he thinks he can duplicate all those things. So any medium will work. And the mats, I've used the coconut mats. They have worked as well. So, you know, whatever anybody's putting out there, try it, see what it grows. I like the feel of the soil in my hands, the nutrients. You know, there's something in organic soil called fulvic acid, and that fulvic acid is like, it's God sent to the earth, okay? And it comes up in the roots, and it comes up in any organic vegetables you'll buy from your organic shop and eat, is that fulvic acid. I've written a long article about it and how it works. So it really is worthwhile looking at. And okay, I say if you want to store, leave them on the plant, okay? Let them store on the plant, okay? Let them grow a bit taller and harvest them when you need them. But if you do have excess and you've got to that point, then take 2 pieces of damp paper, 2 pieces of damp paper, and put the microgreens between the damp paper. You need the moisture is important. And then put them into a Ziploc bag and put them into the fridge. And then they'll be just as fresh in 7 to 10 days time as when you put them in. And don't wash them until you're about to eat them, okay? Do not wash them before storing them, if you're going to store them. And the moisture in the paper is a key part of keeping that particular microgreen happy. Okay. All right, before we look at how we can eat them, what about growing them? Any questions about what we've covered now? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, okay.
If you don't, the seeds are the same, right? If you don't eat while they are very young and small, and if I let them grow, they reach the size of vegetables sold at the supermarket.
Mm.
We just prematurely cut them to eat. That makes those plant microgreen. But
Correct.
they're same thing as kind of fruit. If they are let alone, they will end up in a full-size vegetable.
Yes, they will.
Those seeds are the same for creating microgreens or regular vegetables sold at the stores or farmers market.
Yes.
We are just prematurely kind of shortening their lives, so to speak.
Yeah, they are the same seeds. You are just shortening the life. You're quite right. You're quite right. It's the same seed. What you will find online, and particularly in North America, is that you will find people advertising microgreen seeds. Okay, and I've tried to do some research. It appears that those seeds have possibly been genetically modified, okay? And I don't know what the consequences are of genetically modified seeds, okay? Clearly they modify them for bigger growth, faster growth, and all those man benefits, but I'm not sure otherwise. So, you know, I would always buy the real McCoy, the vegetable seeds, okay?
Okay.
I didn't know there was a difference. That's why I just bought these just to try them out, see? But it actually says microgreens on there, and they're not organic or anything. I just wanted to try something, and I saw these and I thought, I didn't know you could just buy regular seeds and make them microgreens.
Yeah, yeah, and they also, if you buy them online, Nelda, you can get larger quantities for like the same price, okay? Mm-hmm. But start with those. Really start with your first packet. Don't go and throw it away now. Start with it, and now you know what to look for as we move forward. I mean, we've still got another 30 odd years to live, okay? So, you know, spend 2021 experimenting. and coming up with solutions and so forth. All right. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Excuse me, sorry to keep asking question, but
That's good.
I'm a convert. so okay, what do I do with this soil still containing some seed at the end of the season, let's say September, October in the United States? What do I do? Throw them away or keep it over winter and revive them in the spring? Or
Okay. Are you saying the seeds before you've planted them?
soil containing
Soil. Yeah. Just put them into a bin, break them up because the soil is now compacted with the roots. Okay. The roots have now compacted the soil. So just take it out of the tray, break them all up, put them into any sort of open air container. Okay. And then add some soil enrichments, organic soil enrichments, or just some more organic soil. And it will be there for years to come.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes. All right.
Wow.
Any other questions? All right. Sorry, did somebody say something?
Yeah, it's a little quick question.
All right.
Sunflower seeds, can I plant the hulled ones or should they have the seed covering?
They're the whole one. You soak them. Yeah.
The whole seed, okay.
Yeah.
Not the whole-
But soak them first. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So how to eat them and I mean, we know that you can add them to salads and things like that. Historically, we know that. But I mean, just look at that pizza. If that pizza were a cauliflower base and not a wheat base, okay, and you've added some cheese, and then you get the flavor from the microgreens that you love. So you decide on the flavor and you then add it to the pizza. Who doesn't love a pizza, particularly when it's a healthy pizza? So you come to the left here. I mentioned to you, you can make a smoothie, and the formula across the world for a good microgreen smoothie is wheatgrass and broccoli. And then you can add your own others that you want to, but that's the base that you juice. You juice those, and they're really very popular. And you can imagine the health benefit of that one drink. I mean, wow. And you can sprinkle it on anything. You can sprinkle them on burgers. Good healthy burgers. I don't know if you have some places in North America that have healthy burgers. So there's only one healthy burger, and that's the one you make at home. But let me not say that, having said it. Here we've got a savory pancake. Okay?
Wow.
So it's got some salmon in between, and you put something sweet if you like, or you put coriander. But the picture shows pea, which is a sweet thing. The pea microgreen is one of those you just have to try at some stage. You put it on your list to order because it tastes just like the pea coming out of the pea pod. That baby peas in a pea pod. Delicious, tasty, sweet, lovely. So do your pea shoots, your pea microgreens. And here we've got a roasted acorn squash microgreen quinoa salad. It's really it's great for people who are vegetarians perhaps, and but it's just so healthy, and another way of eating them. Here's another way of eating them. And here we've got a strawberry chocolate tart, and again we've got a sweet. This one is pea again, a microgreen, because it now blends in with the strawberries and the chocolate very, very well. On the right, we've got the spring salad. We all know anything goes into a spring salad. Well, in my case, it goes into it. Whatever I got goes into a spring salad. And the microgreens bring the nutrients and the color and the texture, remember the crunchy texture, to it as well. And so, yeah, I mean, if you look at, I mean, isn't that a colorful salad? I mean, that's amazing. And if you don't call that a rainbow salad, what would you call a rainbow salad? Okay. And but it's a bit of everything, all right? On the extreme right here, you've got roasted broccoli microgreen soup. So you're going into summer now. We are having a lot of soup, and that will certainly be and has been part and parcel of what we do. And some little roast beef tea sandwiches for your high teas. And you know, you sprinkle on whatever taste you want to enhance on that. So you choose your microgreens according to the taste and then what you're putting it on. If you're going to put it on beef or lamb, you know, then you choose the correct microgreens from your experience, from your research. Okay, and then of course on the right here you've got the bittersweet purple salad. Yeah, that's another salad altogether. Anyway, that brings us very late. I'm sorry I've taken up so much of your time with going well past the hour. But I do get a bit carried away because I'm excited about microgreens. I want the whole world to eat microgreens, particularly us senior people who are taking the world into a new dimension, a new world of nutrition and organics and all sorts of lovely things. So, I mean, just look at that salad. There's a wild rice salad, okay, with microgreens in it. You know, try it. It looks good. So, yeah, just skip the fertilizers. You don't have to add nutrients to your microgreens. They are nutritious by themselves. And I tend to water with a spray can and not with a watering can, because you don't want to overwater them. You don't want the bottom of the soil to stay wet, okay? That's only going to be unpleasant. So you just want the top half of the soil to stay damp, okay? And then as the roots get further and further, it gets more matured, you can put more water on it, and because then the roots will take up that. So I will still take any questions, but while you're thinking of your questions, this is Liz at the bottom down here. She writes blogs and articles for Get Set Up, and she interviews people like yourselves about how you're doing with your business or your microgreens, or you know, whatever you're doing. My wife's upcycling and recycling classes and so on. So she likes to get the information. So write her a little email and tell her anything you want to tell her about Get Set Up, not only my classes, but anybody else's, and use that. Okay. And I'm running, as you can see now, 5 business classes, which Lil is very familiar with. And yeah, so yeah, and other. So that being as it is, let's just stop sharing, and I'll take any more questions before we say goodbye.
No, I just thank you so much for the information. It was really great. And I'm running out tomorrow and get my cilantro. Oh yeah, I'm going to get that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Big C.
And then please come back to classes and let me know what you think of the taste and the texture and all that, okay? And share with the class which ones besides that one, okay, you're doing, okay? I think there's another one that you're probably going to buy as well there. Okay. Any others? Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Let's say goodbye, good evening. Have a great
everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.